Hello, everybody. Just checking to see if I'm audible.
Your voice is echoing, Kanak.
Yeah, what about now?
Yeah, it's better.
All right. Okay. Uh, our third panelist will be joining us in a few moments. He just called up and said that he's packing for Varanasi because they have the Youth 20 summit happening there very soon in a couple of days. So he'll be joining very soon. In the meantime, I would like to welcome all the participants and the three panelists of this session. And this is the 11th Manthan that we are holding. And it really gives me great pleasure to hold this. It is being organized by the Urban Strategy Unit and the Urban Youth Unit of NIUA in partnership. And it's a part of the Yuva Mahotsav that we are having at NIUA, which is a 1 week long celebration of the youth energy of India, so to say, and it's dedicated to the youth. We are having a number of discussions and deliberations on not only the roles and responsibilities of youth, but how can other agencies like government, the private sector, etc., empower the youth to perform to their fullest potential. So another thing is that this also builds upon the convergence that we have been working on for the past 9 months between the urban and the youth sectors. As the Urban 20, which is an engagement group of the G20, is NIUA is the technical secretariat for that, and the Youth 20 have come together on a lot of initiatives together. This is another one of them, and we are building on our relationship as we take a collective voice to the G20 leadership. So today we'll be discussing the role of youth as drivers of sustainable development, and we have with us uh, three panelists with extremely varied experience, and I would love for them to share their viewpoints and their experiences with the participants in this seminar. I'll just very, very briefly introduce the panelists. We have Ruchi Gupta, Team Lead Urban Strategy Unit NIUA. We have Mayura Gadkari, Project Manager from Artha Global from Mumbai. And we have Abhishek Malhotra, who will be joining shortly, Secretary, Partnerships and Finance for Youth 20, and also Assistant Professor in the Delhi University. So just to set the context, Ruchi, are you here? Yeah, I'm just trying to see if she's here and she can start her video also.
I can see Ruchi, Kanak,
I can see
but
her,
I don't
yeah.
think she's audible.
Okay. All right. So I'll still start. Okay, just give me a second. I'll just confirm that Ruchi is there. I'll just.
Ruchi ma'am, you're not audible.
All right. Let me just continue. Mayura, can you please switch on your video if that's okay? And Ruchi, if you can hear me, please switch on your video.
I have my video on, Kanak.
All right, all right. Now I can see
Yeah.
you. Yes. All right. Okay. All right. So I'll just set the context and then we start immediately. Youth are the key to unlock a sustainable future, as most of us believe. And a country's potential for growth is best determined by the size and strength of the youth population. Let's say the population under the age of 35. So we are talking about children as well as young people in the population. Now, India already is, touted as the country with the highest cohort of youth population, and everybody is looking at India as if India is going to like perform so well in the future. But as I said before, size as well as strength is required. So while the first part of it we've already achieved, we have the size. I mean, with the largest cohort of youth population, with more than 60% of our population being under the age of 35, we have that bit taken care of. What we do have to still take care of is the strength or the power that this population can be given to actually be the change makers that we are hoping they will be. So with that, I will start with the panelists because we're all waiting to hear their viewpoints. I'll start with Mayura. Uh, I would like to first, ask you about your experience in the project that you worked on when you were at NIUA on, youth skilling and livelihoods, in which India and Brazil had partnered with University of Edinburgh. If you could just tell us a little bit about the project and also the main learnings from that. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure, Kanak. Everyone, very good to be a part of an IUA webinar once again. So this project it was called Shaping Youth Futures, and it was coordinated by the University of Edinburgh. We had received the funding from the British Academy, and what we had done is NIUA was one of the knowledge partners on the project, and we had two implementing partners basically who worked with the young people on ground. So one of them was Young Volunteers for Action, that is YUVA, which is based in Mumbai. And the other one was a similar kind of organization that is based in Volta Redonda, which is a small city in the district of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. And what the initiative was actually to identify gaps where these young people who are right now during the barriers that they come across when was one of the objectives of the project. And what YUVA and CFP, which is based in Brazil, what they did was actually formed a group of young people, identified what are these barriers that they face, and this was like gender and social inclusion work, like cross-cutting themes. So we were looking also at gender disparity. We were looking at the barriers that certain class and caste of people face when they go out and access opportunities in the livelihood space. So that was the main objective of identifying these and in a way trying to find solutions to these through policy. And that is where NIUA came into picture, because we are closely associated with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. And the National Urban Livelihood Mission, which is anchored at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. What the project intended to do was influence or inform the NULM part, which was then in the phase of conception, and basically to give them an idea that while we are doing or while we are implementing such schemes at the central level, these are the problems that we actually face on ground when it comes to actually delivering these schemes. And the experience was amazing. I mean, the kind of work that these young people did, and the when you empower them and when you give them the age, the kind of are just you can't we can't really research that kind of doing destiny. Uh, it has to them do workshops, participate in discussions, involve them in actually the decision making. I was an extremely enriching experience for all us partners as well as the young people who are actually directly involved in the project. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Just before I move on to the next panelist, just wanting to ask your frank opinion whether so many of such initiatives must be happening on ground. Uh, what do you think is that extra effort or that extra element required to actually make them impactful at policy level? Like, I'm sure while doing this work, you must have realized that the kind of impact one thinks of, one initiative cannot make that. So then you must have thought of all these, barriers to impact. Can you please just quickly tell us something about this experience?
Absolutely. And you are very right. We actually did like the publication that we came out with at the end of the project, where we actually compiled the practices that are ongoing in India and youth engagement practices that are ongoing in India and in some countries in Latin America. We did come across very noteworthy examples. But again, the question was that where do we go from here? All these people are doing some magnificent work on ground, but how does this actually contribute to policy? And that is when we actually conceived and came up with what we held last year, Prajatantra, what NIUA anchored with Praja Foundation, was actually one of the initiatives where we thought that we could bring in these young people to contribute to actual policy level decisions, and the Prajatantra culminating in the National Youth Conclave, where we could actually see the ministry's presence, and people from the ministry could hear them speak about these issues and these topics that they are very passionate about. It was actually one step closer to the objective that we were trying to achieve. It was something that we set out to do, that to actually engage young people at the policy level, and that was one of our contributing actions to doing that. But one action is not enough, like you said. There has to be a series of actions, a continuation of something like this to take it forward.
Yes, Mayura, absolutely agree with you, and was great to have you here at NIUA when we actually organized the National Youth Conclave. I would request my team members or even you, Mayura, if you can share the links to some of these documents, like that, the best practices that you were speaking about, or even the report of the National Youth Conclave on the chat for our participants who are here, because I think they would really want to know more about this, and it'll be great if you can share them. Moving on to our next panelist, Abhishek Malhotra, who, as I have introduced before while he wasn't here, he is the Secretary for Finance and Partnerships at U20 and is also an assistant professor in the Delhi University. Abhishek, can I please request you to share your experience about the Youth 20 engagement group under the G20, and in the past 9 months or so, what kind of, if I can say, impact, or what kind of initiatives under the Youth 20 have brought the youth together to actually make some sort of change? Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you. I'm sorry I was a bit late. I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So, as you rightly mentioned, we are a youth engagement group under the G20, and given that we had an opportunity to run the Secretariat this year, the Y20 India has taken a lot of initiatives that I believe have not yet been taken by any other country, starting from the activities that we've been doing to the themes that we've selected. I'll just briefly mention the themes that we've selected this year. We are talking about future of work, wherein we talk about the industry 4.0, 21st century skills and innovation. We talk about peace building and reconciliation. And this was specifically chosen, given the uh, global scenario and our honorable prime minister mentioning about ushering in an era of no war. So we thought that it was important that the youth of all these countries talk about peace building, and hence this theme was selected. Then we're talking about health, well-being and sports and agenda for youth. We've also taken the fourth theme is climate change and disaster risk reduction. And the fifth theme, which I believe is very important and which none other country had selected till now, is talking about youth and democracy and governance. Because a youth engagement group never spoke about youth being a part of democracy and governance, and hence we thought that it was very important that we start discussions about this topic. That because we always mention youth as a citizen of tomorrow, but we need to understand that youth is a citizen of today. And when youth can vote at the age of 18, youth can also be a part of policy making and governance and start at a young age. And I believe in the last few years, by government's initiatives of taking young professionals and consultants in various ministries and in different autonomous bodies in the organization, youth has got a flavor of how policy making and governance works. In fact, before I entered academics, I was a part of Ministry of Finance. I was working as a consultant with the Chief Economic Advisor. So I was there for hardly 1.5 years, but the experience that I got in the ministry, I believe, was very important, because being in academics, you are not very aware of what actually the effort that is being put in by different officers. We usually just say that bureaucrats hain to aisa kaam kar rahe hain or whatever, but every policy has a lot of things that have to be kept in mind. We just think from our perspective, but when there are hundreds of stakeholders involved, policy making is not an easy task, because uh, you might think of benefiting one, but then there are 10 more who might be affected. So we thought that it was very important that we start talking about youth in democracy and governance, so that youth get a flavor of uh, how things actually work in the system. Now, what we've done with these themes is, apart from the discussions and official negotiation process that is going on, we thought of democratizing the entire process of Y20 India. And what we've achieved by democratizing this process is that in the last 8 months, we've completed over 1,300 programs in India. We started with Y20 Chopals, Y20 Talks in different schools and colleges. We've done Y20 Youth Festival. We are doing Y20 study circles, and a lot of such programs we've started. And this week we are concluding with our final summit in Varanasi. But the entire idea behind democratizing this process and doing this large number of programs was so that these topics, these themes, and the discussions that we have started, they do not get limited in conference halls and seminar halls. We wanted it to reach to the grassroots. And I'm very happy to share that we've done Y20 Chopals in remotest villages of Bihar. We've done it on border districts of West Bengal. We've done it on beaches. We've done it on ghats of Ganga River. So we reached every possible part that we could. And we were just having a meeting last week in the Secretariat, and it was decided that we are not going to stop at this final summit, and we'll continue till the last day of our presidency, and Y20 Secretariat will be doing events till November 30th. And we hope that we reach 2,500 events by the end of our presidency. That's our target that we are working with. So I hope we can connect a lot of new members, youth members with us in our initiative, and we can carry on our events so that we can sensitize the youth about the topics that we've selected.
Thank you, Abhishek, for sharing this. I have a couple of more questions for you, but before that, I request all of the participants to ask any questions or note your observations in the chat box, so that the panelists can be told about them before the time for the seminar ends. And so, Abhishek, just also echoing your thoughts about Y20. You know that we are the technical secretariat for Urban 20, and over these 8-9 months, we also found a lot of convergence with Youth 20, because in our cities there are a lot of youth. Like, in fact, it is exactly equivalent to the number of youth in the country. The percentage is almost same, about 60% below the age of 35. Um and what we've been trying to do is look at how youth can make a change locally in their localities and at city level also. And for that, among all of the chopals and all that you all are holding, we are also committed to holding 20 talks with Y20, out of which we've already completed 2. And some of these will be in the form of the of urban chopal. So here is where, this Y20 U20 partnership has worked really well, and I hope we'll be able to take a collective voice to the G20 leadership.
And
Now,
I
just
believe that
yeah,
just a point that I wanted to add, that since you mentioned about the 20 events, I believe that now when schools and colleges are reopening after their summer vacations, we can definitely speed up our events. And, in the coming 2-3 months, probably we can complete our 20 events.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, Abhishek, I'll just, my second question to you is regarding something I did over the weekend when I came to know that I have to moderate this Manthan. I just spoke to people between the age of 40 and 60 in my locality, some 10 people. Just wanted to know their viewpoint about youth. So many of them were really like, they wanted to be a youth in this day and age, because they said, "Kash main abhi young hota to main pata nahi kya kar leta." There were women who said that they were so happy to see young women getting more opportunities than they ever got in their lives when they were young. So all of that was there, but there's also a little bit of, um, one can say that their observation was that the youth tend to be a little self-centered. So just wanting to know that when we are looking for collective action, and when you all have been working in Y20, what were the efforts like to get youth together to talk about certain issues, and actually what was those, did they really come together, or is it still a few of them and not all of them? Also, when you mentioned that youth in the G20 countries, were you also able to involve youth from other countries other than India? Please let us know this. Yeah.
Yes. So, I don't know what to comment on the idea of youth being self-centered. But with my experience, what I can share is that, the last 8 months have been easy for us. We've done 1,300 events because there has been a lot of excitement for getting involved in these activities. And, there are almost 10 new collaboration requests that I receive every day. So, and there are people want to do all kinds of events. And these are not just talks and chopals to be heroes or something. We've collaborated for beach cleaning activities as well. Just next week we have an activity in Gujarat for beach cleaning. So I think there are always all kinds of people who are available in the society, and my experience has been that youth has shown tremendous amount of support to us, and their excitement is beyond measure, because it becomes sometimes hard for us to control them, because this week, as I was saying, that we have our final summit, and since morning I have received more than 50 calls from to participate in that from local people in Varanasi. But we've already reached our maximum limit, so I have to turn all the requests down. And now we are planning a couple of side events just to accommodate those people. So I think we cannot get everybody, but there are a lot of people who are interested, and even if we can channelize their energy on the right track, we'll be able to achieve what we want to achieve. And what was your second part about the
other countries,
other
youth from other
countries?
countries?
Yes. So we've held Y20 Chopals in UK. We've done Y20 Chopals in US. And when these delegates were traveling to India, we've taken them across in different cities. In fact, even the Y20 delegates who are coming to India for a final summit, they are staying back for next 2 weeks, and they'll be going to different parts of our country in different states. We've organized a lot of events for them, and they'll be participating. In fact, to give you an example, one event is in my college itself, where the delegation from France, Canada, and Australia are coming to have a talk with the students in our college. So we have involved all of them with us, and we've also done events in different parts of the world.
That's very heartening to hear, Abhishek, that that youth have been involved, like really, really involved in this Y20 engagement group. And I'm of course going to go back and tell the people who were talking about this about the efforts under Y20. And I also personally believe that if well engaged and well empowered, youth are really a force to reckon with. Just coming to the last bit with you, because I also believe you have to leave for a flight for Varanasi. So, just one thing to really empower youth. I mean, while there is literacy, there is also education, education about various aspects, about where can I, if I have a business idea, secure funding from. So, if we really want to empower youth, if there are certain ideas that they have that are new ideas, they're the best communicators we have, best innovators right now. How can, are there already such existing instruments that youth can avail of, that you can tell us about? And what is that government youth relationship that you think would empower youth further to actually perform, to actually live up to what our hopes from the youth are?
Yes, I believe this is the right moment for uh, youth to get involved in innovation and entrepreneurship, and I believe we've seen a tremendous amount of growth in the innovation sector in last 4 or 5 years, and this is happening because of the efforts of government, of the different ministries who've been continuously giving out schemes, and a lot of tools have been brought out for providing funding, as you were saying, to the young entrepreneurs and for innovative ideas. And I think the schemes are not just limited to Mudra, what we've commonly seen, but there are, I think, more than 10 schemes that are available today with different ministries in different sectors that are available. To start with, I would say Mudra I will not mention because I'm sure everyone is aware of the Mudra scheme. Then there are Stand Up India scheme is available for funding. You have Startup India scheme that provides funding to the marginalized sectors sections, so that they can also bring forward their ideas. And even in rural areas, I believe there is Aspire scheme, which promotes rural industries and which is helping youth in rural districts to come forward with their ideas. There are sector specific scheme. I am missing the names, but there are two schemes by Ministry of Science and Technology, Department of Science and Technology. Then we have 2 3 schemes from Ministry of Electronics and IT. They have very good schemes, who are they are promoting innovative ideas in terms of electronics and how we can become IT superpower. There is also a scheme called Digital India Genesis, if I'm not wrong. That is also a wonderful scheme, wherein they've been giving a lot of funding to young innovators. And apart from all these innovative ideas, the scheme that right now I am working on and I've been talking to people, which started during the COVID period, it's not directly linked with innovation, but which I believe can strengthen youth at grassroots levels or marginalized sections is the PM Swanidhi scheme, because I believe that that scheme is actually going to be a real game changer if it is implemented properly. Because if we are able to bring these informal sectors or unorganized sectors into our formal economy, if we are able to give them the handholding that they require, they are already hardworking people. If we can just help them with what they need, I believe that our economy is going to shoot up and it will play a major role in making India a 5 trillion economy.
Thank you so much, Abhishek, for all this information. I've noted down some of these because I haven't heard of these actually. So thank you. I'm sure these will be useful for our participants. I would request you to hang on. Please continue with your work. But in the end, there are a couple of questions for you from the participants and maybe a message from you in the end. I'll just move on to the third panelist, Ms. Ruchi Gupta. Welcome, Ruchi. Um, Ruchi is the team lead for the Urban Strategy Unit at NIUA, and she has previously, for 6 years, worked on the Master Plan of Delhi, the draft of which is in the public domain right now. So my first question to you, Ruchi, is regarding the experience of the master plan, because what at NIUA we have been trying to do, given our work in the urban sector, is involve youth in the various, in resolving the various complexities and issues at city level. So, can you please share with us your experience of the master plan and any kind of youth involvement that happened during the process?
Yeah. Hi everyone, can you hear me now? I don't know. Yeah. So thank you for the opportunity and for the question both. It's good to see Mayura and Abhishek already speaking good about this area, because all of us here and we very strongly believe, taking the quote to the youth, that they are the agents of change. And when we come to the youth, they are the ones who are going to take forward the good things to the next level, to the next generation. So as part of this, like when Kanak asked about the engagement of youth during the master plan, I will be very happy to mention here that this time, as part of the initiative to support DDA in the plan preparation process, we nudged them and we sort of convinced them to do a extensive consultation exercise with the people of Delhi. And having said that, we really reached out to more than 20, we did 20, more than 20 focus group discussions, a lot of, not only from the people of the field, experts from the field, but from the people of Delhi, in terms of the RWAs, in terms of the market traders associations, etc. And the most importantly, we did 4 such sessions with the youth of Delhi. Very interestingly, despite the challenges of COVID and the fact that we couldn't meet each other, etc., there was an overwhelming response that we received for. We did 4 youth sabhas, we call them, and they were segregated into, the questions were targeted in a way wherein we can get some focused input from them. Otherwise, we would end up doing the same thing again and again. So the 4 main themes that we wanted to speak to them was, how do they view Delhi as? I mean, what does Delhi mean to them? For some, it meant as a center for learning. For some, it meant like the center of work, and so on. And I think Kanak may correct me. I think we received about 500 odd participation in across these 4 meetings that we had. So people came out really, they gave us interesting ideas across 4 themes on what Delhi means to them, and what is their view on safe and equitable access to places to work, to places to study. How what are their recommendations, what are their suggestions, or in fact, what are the challenges that they face, so that when you hear from the people, you know what exactly is the problem and what you need to tackle while putting down the prescriptions for that. The third area was that we nudged them to mention that if they view Delhi as a place for work, live, and travel, what are the key concerns from across the gender, from across a lot of perspectives which they can highlight. And it'll be very interesting to note that through these three youth sabhas that we did, we got a recommendation to hold a specific youth sabha for the people with disabilities, or people who need some kind of support in terms of accessing facilities or accessing places. So this came as a very strong recommendation. So all in all, we were able to do these four great conversations with people. And there were suggestions like there should be provisions for affordable student housing. There were suggestions like there can be provisions for knowledge centers, or some spaces where at least these youth can come together, sit together, brainstorm, and come out with something which is more meaningful and interesting. There were requirements for, they very strongly emphasized the need for universal access, the need for safe streets, the need for safe public transport. And also they would share their ideas, their thoughts on how the master plan of Delhi can, put in things which can see a more likable Delhi for tomorrow. So yes, it was very, very interesting to note that there was a good participation in terms of the gender mix that we had. And they very strongly, they put forward concerns pertaining to their friends, their sisters, their mothers who are accessing facilities. So a very beautifully sought response from them. And I think Kanak was very much part of the team of the master plan. And we are happy to say that we were able to, put together lots of things that, came as recommendations. In fact, the idea is that maybe those things are no new. We as planners or professionals from the urban development field will already know most of these, but to be able to hear it back from the people, and to, it sort of resonates and it sort of strengthens the fact that whatever we are putting together as part of the plan document, which will be there for the next 20 years, is meaningful for the people. So the primary thing, I think, what happened in the Youth Sabha was also that the youth began to believe that whatever they're saying is going to be of use. And that is that assurance we need to give to them again and again. Because I myself a mother of a preteen daughter. And at that age also, it's so important to assure them that no, what you're saying is being heard about. There will be things being taken care about. Because if you don't give them that assurance, they will never speak their heart out to you. It doesn't matter to them. They are pretty capable of doing things very much on their own. So you need to assure them that no, you are at the right place, you are giving the importance at the right place. So we need to bring them in the co-designing and the co-implementation thing. We need to rest responsibilities on them. And then I'm sure we will get a good response.
Thank you, Ruchi. I completely agree with you. I think other panelists will too, that sometimes when their voice does not reach the right places, and no proper reaction to that voice, or there is not a proper response to that voice, they then tend to just sit back and not say anything, because the world will move on, kind of thing. But if we really want to build this collective voice, to amplify this voice to such an extent that it makes a difference, we will need to hear the youth, listen to them, listen to their ideas, and actually get them into policies like the master plan of any city. And I'll just add one thing to what you said. Yes, the voices have to be heard, and what you said, that some of these you were able to get as norms in the master plan. So I'll of course ask that in my next question. But just also wanted to say that there were, not everybody agreed with having youth participate in these. There was also a big fight from people who are not the youth like us, to say that no, we need to hear from all people, all, different sections of the society, whether it is youth or children or women, because each of them have different needs. And unless the plan knows of their needs, or the plan making team knows of their needs, they will never be fulfilled in entirety. And uh, and therefore one of the key performance indicators of the master plan was, participation, increased participation of women in the workforce. And many people question, why is this part of a spatial plan for a city? But it is the spatial plan of the city that was providing enablers that would help women to not leave work. So between the age of 24 to 35, which is like, the main, what you say, the youth are performing at this age, they are doing something with their lives, they are doing something for their city, for their country. It is within this age group that most of the women either, leave their studies or leave their work. So how can they be enabled? And I'm sure Ruchi will highlight some of the norms and some of the so-called spatial regulations that actually enable young people, children, women, and youth to become more, productive citizens. Ruchi, over to you. Yeah.
I think that's a very pertinent issue. I mean, and all of us at some point in time, in our lives, as females or as partners to females, will have experienced this issue of primarily access to education, then access to good jobs, access to equal opportunities at workplace, and particularly um, during the maternity phase, etc., how the system can support bringing women back to jobs, bringing them back to workforce is a very important step that the government of any country or any city administration or a spatial plan could try to. So, like Kanak said, the KPI was increased women workforce participation, and anybody on first instance will probably think that how will the master plan what will the master plan do in that, and what all can you say, because there's a lot of things which are not specially driven but are more policy driven and more decision driven, etc. But I can give you a very small example, and we really had a tough time fighting that sentence in the plan, that the fact that the plan enables provision of childcare facilities like creches, like childcare centers, like daycare centers, etc., is very pertinent to bringing women back to the workforce. Because unfortunately, the society is still undergoing the transformation, and we still are of the kind of mental thing, and the families still believe that if there is a choice between the man and the women of the family to take a break for childcare, it has to be the women. It's undergoing transformation. People are doing things together, and it's improving. But yet, having said that, so this childcare facility introduction that we it was already there in the plan, not that it wasn't there. There are policies, there are the Maternity Act itself says that you will have to have, if these number of women are there, you will have to have a childcare facility in the campus or in the office building, etc. But the fact that we allowed these childcare facilities as a use in any of the built forms, it was a permissible activity in residential premises, in office buildings, etc., etc. In addition to that, we also tried and introduced something called the adult care facility, because so much so as the issue of a child being taken care of by a woman, the same theory also applies to elderly parents, elderly staying in your home who need special care. So what do you do with them? I mean, how do you still continue working if you know you have two people to be taken care of at the home? So either you have somebody at home to take care, or if the people can move, they can also be shifted to daycare facilities for adults. I mean, this wasn't a concept too much prevalent in our Indian scenarios as yet, but these were decisions, or these were suggestions that came from the concerned departments and from these discussions, that the master plan at least found some space for these. Because the problem with the spatial tools like master plans is that unless it is written in the plan, it wouldn't probably be permitted, or you will have to run around too much to be able to take permission to permit that. So uh, just taking this a step forward, what we tried doing in the master plan was also taking away these nomenclatures, saying that if a facility is a facility with some beds, with some, an inpatient treatment, or where you need to put the patient there, or somebody who needs care for the whole of the day, why call it a nursing home or a maternity? Just call it a place where there can be in-house treatment facilities or in-house care facilities. So these kind of things we tried. Like tomorrow you may want to call these facilities anything, there can be any new name which comes into place, but because we are taking away the nomenclature and we are calling it the facility by the kind of care it is giving and not by the name it is supposed to bear, I think if it continues and if it gets seen in the final master plan, it will be a good success. It looks small, but the difference it is, it has the potential to create a big change. And similar small steps, I think we usually get a little overwhelmed when we think about that phase. So yeah, maybe some more I can share.
Yes. Thank you, Ruchi. I am also thinking of those times and how the young people had spoken about safe streets and safe public transport. One important thing that I was telling Abhishek, that these older people also said, that what they like about the youth of today is that many youth have decided not to buy cars. Many youth are nowadays deciding not to own property. So they are becoming free of those things and probably can focus their energies towards, contributing towards environmental sustainability, contributing towards some sort of societal change, where they can play a big role. So just coming back to Abhishek, so that we can free him for his flight in time. Abhishek, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So there was a question for you over here where somebody has asked that were permissions from the caregivers, I mean to say, they're probably talking about adults or, older family members. Were the youth taking permission to participate in these initiatives? Or, so I'm not sure how to answer that question, and that's why I'm putting it onto you, because you were talking about a number of activities and events. So were these youth there on their own, or were the families also aware? Somebody has put up this concerned question. Yes.
Yes. So the maximum people who've reached out to us to do events are usually above 18. But there have been requests from class 7th, class 9th year students, and usually they are the ones who send us the letters, but then on behalf of them, it's usually their parents who talk to us. And
Okay.
their events are also limited to doing events in their schools itself. So we've made sure that, no youth or, a school student specifically, we've kept his or her security in mind while doing all these events.
That's great to know. I'm sure the participant will be a little relieved hearing that. Um, Before I let you go, Abhishek, can I just ask you if you have any message for the young individuals who've joined this webinar today, or even for later on? Because for all of your information, this webinar will be on YouTube, on the NIUA handle of YouTube. So if you have any message for the youngsters in terms of what can they do as individuals or collectively to take forward the sustainable development agenda.
Ma'am, a message that I believe is important for people to know is that there is no alternative to hard work. Because I think I've seen a lot of laid back attitude, especially in my students these days. And I believe that some Instagram posts usually tell them to relax and give time to themselves, and all those theories. But I believe it is for you to take what post actually suits you, because you'll also find a post saying that go with the flow, but there is also a post that says that only a dead fish goes with the flow. So it's for you to decide which one you want to believe. And in the end, I'll just say there is no alternative to hard work. You have to work if you want to succeed.
You can see the big smile on my face. I wish my children were also listening in. So I completely agree with you on that. And they may think of us as oldies, but this is absolutely right. Completely agree with you. Um, Abhishek, I have to just ask one of my team members if they have taken a photograph of all the panelists, so that I can then let you, like, if you would like to leave because of your
Yes.
flight. Yeah, it's absolutely okay. I will move on to. Thank you very much, Abhishek. Thank you,
Thank you.
Abhishek.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I will move on to Mayura again. Um, Mayura, I just want to ask you the same question. If you have any advice, or like closing statements in which you can address the youth as to how can they be better change makers.
Um, I would like to say focus on 3 points. One is education. Educate yourself about the concepts of sustainable development if you want to bring about that change. Educate yourself about the challenges that we are facing today, and the policy landscape that exists that you can inform going forward, right? Second is advocacy. Advocate for the change within the community and advocate for change at the policy level. So then find your avenues, empower the community, involve them in the decision making process, because it is, after all, it is a collective action. You cannot do it individually. So always look at it as a collective that is working towards a goal. And the third part is, innovation. Innovate, think big, embrace the opportunities that you have, embrace the technology that is available to you, the opportunities that are available in terms of the interdisciplinary opportunities, the design thinking approaches that are available today were not probably available say 10 years back or 20 years back. So make use of that. And lastly, it's lead by example. If you can show that a particular change that you can make in your own life has an impact, then of course people will follow. So simple things, but I think that would be my 4 cents. Yeah.
Such a beautiful message, Mayura. It's really really inspiring. Um, I will also like to add to that, because it's not that we have so many youth. I spoke about that in the beginning also. We said that most of the developing countries have huge youth population. Like the maximum number of people are under the age of 35. Most of these countries are located in the global south. Now, coincidentally, these are the countries that are urbanizing most rapidly. These are the countries that are going to see unprecedented growth in the coming years. So, if the largest number of people are the people who have to be change makers, they have to follow something like this. It cannot only be it cannot only be awareness at an individual level. It has to be awareness at a collective level, at a community level. And you're so right. When we studied as architects, we were like making every sheet over and over again by hand. Now there's technology that produces another sheet in 2 seconds. You just have to copy and paste. I can't. The first time I saw that done, I was shocked. So, and now it's moved much beyond that. Now we are in the age of AI and all of that, and these youth
Yeah.
are you really utilizing these technologies and sometimes going on to misuse them also. But they can be the best users. I think they are born in this day and age, and they can be the best users. Thank you so much for that very heartfelt message. I'm sure the participants would have really liked it. Um, I will move on to Ruchi also with the same question, Ruchi, and ask for your advice, or I would say, how do you envisage that young individuals can, who are aspiring to make a change, how can they make the best change possible, not only individually but as collectively also?
So, Kanak, I completely agree with what Abhishek and Mayura have said, and therefore I will probably want to answer it slightly differently. That for them to be able to make meaningful contribution, there need to be ample opportunities to be able to do that. So the system has to give that space and that acceptance to hear them, to listen to them, and to treat them really as part and parcel of this whole decision making thing that we're doing. So that bit, I think it's important, like you said, that it's important to involve everyone. But fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, this youth gang, they probably, I have a feeling that they bring in, because of their age group, which is between the elderlies and the youngsters, so they bring that cusp thing, that I think they bring forward meaningful responses to this. They probably are able to bring forward the needs of all of us in a manner. And also, like Mayura said, that there's important to innovate. They are the ones who know what to do and how to do. So we have to acknowledge and accept that fact that nobody knows it better than them. So that innovation thing, I mean, you can keep building on something, and you can maybe have a much better solution tomorrow. But that innovation, it is rested with them. So giving them that acknowledgement, I think the system has to open up and make that meaningful inclusion of for them. Only then it will be possible, because how much soever they may want to do it, but if there are no opportunities, it'll not happen. So I'm hoping that, like Abhishek said, that there are these 2,500 sabhas ka target that they've kept for Y20 till September. Part of it continues later on. I mean, let it not be one time event and one year ka event wherein we invest all our energies. Maybe not in that big number, but I think we should continue. Some departments at least should start bringing in this participation, particularly for the youth. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ruchi. There is just another question here from the participants, which is regarding the events that we have mentioned, whether it is related to um um, Y20 or Urban 20. So what I can request my team members is to give them some links in the chat box only, related to our Urban 20 events. They can get to know over there, and NIUA events. And for the Y20 events, we can always share, the Youth 20 website. So I request my team members to please put those links here. And as we wrap up, I'll also want to give a little bit of what I would like to talk about, what I have learned from today's webinar. And one of the major ideas that has come out, not that it's a new idea, is talking about both the responsibility as well as rights of youth. So while a lot of things, or a lot of empowerment is required from the government, from other stakeholders, from institutions, educational institutions, academic institutions, workplaces like NIUA, to empower the youth, to actually push them forward, it is also the responsibility of the youth to perform equally, to participate equally. Now, even if a master plan of a city opens up for participation in terms of people's to get people's suggestions and comments, and yet no youth participate, it would be of no use. So rights and responsibilities both play a very important role. In order for, so yesterday I was discussing at home about the youth bulge that everybody speaks about, or the demographic dividend. So right now we have the demographic statistics, I would say, in our account, but for this to pay the demographic dividends is when the roles and responsibilities of youth both are taken care of. And the youth bulge, which my daughter asked, what does a youth bulge mean? So I was explaining to her with the help of a balloon that the bulge is the middle part, which is the one with the most pressure. So we have the youth bulge in this country, but that pressure is not felt because probably there are numerous sporadic, separate initiatives that youth are taking up. However, these have to become more collective. Youth have to get together, derive a collective voice, amplify that voice, and actually make the pressure of the youth bulge felt not only in India but across the globe, especially in the area of sustainable development, especially in the area of making environmentally responsible choices. And with that, I would like to thank all of the participants here and the panelists. Thank you, Ruchi. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you very much, Mayura. Thank you for coming for this webinar at such a short notice. At such a short notice, I thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Kanak.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.